Hello, welcome back to All Today. It's been a little while. We were waiting on Setzer to do episode 50, but he's having some issues, so we're just gonna trudge on without him. So Cheston had an idea of how to approach things today, so let's hear what he has to do.
Hi, it's me, Cheston, and I am here to shake things up for 1 week only, presumably. We're going to try just a different format uh, since it is the 50th episode. How we've made it this far is truly a mystery to me, but here we are trucking. It'll be pretty simple. It's just going to flip some things around. We'll do some bigger headlines, we'll do a little game in the middle, we'll talk about the things we've been playing, and we'll kind of go from there. And we'll do it all with a little bit of a time limit of sorts, but you don't need to worry about that. That's more for our side of things, so we can know when to cut ourselves off and when to continue to ramble freely, as we are wont to do. Yes, so, Derek, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I said, are you ready?
Yeah,
Well, for the millions in attendance and wait a minute, I have that switched.
you do.
It doesn't matter.
The millions in attendance. Oh my god.
The thousands in attendance. That was a big, big arena.
Yeah, huge.
It's like the Hunger Games style arena.
It's like the Michigan arena.
Yes, it is. It is Happy Valley. Wait, that's Penn State.
That's Penn
Whatever.
State. It's not very Happy Valley, if you know a thing or two about that.
Anyways, let's hit some headlines. We're gonna hit some headlines. Derek,
Yes,
the month of October is nearly at an end, and you know what that means.
I do.
It's time for AEW Dynamite on TNT.
Yeah, they say we're in full gear season.
Yes, no, but actually, it's the September NPD report has come out, and big news is that the Nintendo Switch, along the king of the ring when it comes to the NPD reports, always outselling the Xbox and PlayStation brands for 33 straight months. Well, that streak is no more. The PlayStation 5 is now on top. Derek, is this the way of the future?
This WCW-esque streak is over.
It is.
Yeah, I would say it probably is. I would assume this means the PS5 is now more in stock. I would think if it's beating the Switch in NPDs. I bet the Switch comes back in October though because of the LED. But I do think we'll see the PS5 on top more as things go forward.
I saw a picture that I cannot confirm its veracity, but it was circulating on the Twitter sphere, and it was a whole crapload of PlayStation 5s at a Walmart warehouse. So kind of makes me think that I know that stock has been spotty all year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have been gearing up for the holiday shopping season, which for a lot of people has already started. So I think we'll definitely start to see those trickle out. And yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think maybe October with people like me who bought a third Switch, that'll keep the Switch on top. But after that, I really don't expect the Switch to be on top for most
Ever.
months.
I think the Switch will not be on top again until the Switch 2 comes out.
You cool it. I mean, we still got Breath of the Wild to look forward to.
That's true. That's a fair point. Breath of the Wild 2 will be a system seller. So
Yes, and presumably, Metroid Prime 4.
which is
I
strange
say
because I feel like
jokingly.
if Breath of the Wild 2 is a system seller, why did you wait till 2? One's been here the whole time.
Some people need like a trend to be convinced. How many people jump onto a popular series after the first movie? Like, think about The Matrix. I bet you more people saw The Matrix Reloaded than The Matrix 1.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's probably not true. I hope not.
I certainly hope not. I know that I saw The Matrix 1 for the first time because I wanted to see The Matrix 2 in theaters. So but I assume most people were like that if they watched it later.
Well, all I know is that you will not be a part of any of these NPD numbers unless you decide to get a SWOLED in the upcoming months, which I don't think will happen.
Well, I mean, if my Switch breaks, I will say where I put my cartridges in and my whatever this kickstand is broken. So
Oh,
if I decide my Switch is unusable at some point, I would certainly upgrade.
well, okay. But you are not enough, I don't think, to put it over the edge in the future.
No,
Unless there's
unlikely.
a Switch Pro, which, we won't
There
even
won't
deign to
be.
talk about.
Yeah.
But
I think I've told you this privately, but I think the Switch Pro is just a Switch 2 at this point.
I think at this point I would have to agree with you, and I would like to not hear about it anymore until there's more to say.
Right.
Because all of the rumors and speculation does no good. But yes, I think we're in agreement. The PlayStation 5 is now
He's
the,
the king of the castle.
the thing to beat, and probably will not be beaten because people love them some third-person action-adventure games.
I think there'll be a lot of happy kids at Christmas, I would say.
I would say so. All right, Derek, that is our time for that first topic, so why don't you introduce the second?
All right. So, at long last, Far Cry 6 is here,
Woohoo!
and their reviews are predictably middling.
Oh,
Some credit the game for being quote unquote fun, but most have labeled the game as redundant at best and offensive at worst. Some fans think critics are unfairly singling out Ubisoft. Cheston, should they just leave Far Cry alone?
oh, just leave Far Cry alone. No,
No.
not at all.
No,
No,
whatever.
I mean, sure. I will say that yeah, there are some franchises that seem to get more of a pass for this than Far Cry does, because every time a new Far Cry comes out, the reviews are pretty much the same. Like, hey, if you liked Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 and weirdly enough, Far Cry Primal and Far Cry Blood Dragon and Far Cry A New Hope and all those games, then you'll probably like this new Far Cry. And, well, I mean, it's been true all along. Those games really haven't changed at all.
No.
So on one hand, I mean, I do think in some ways they're being singled out, but overall, it is true. These games have been pretty much the same, so I don't think critics are wrong. If anything, I would say that they are, if they are singling it out, it might have more to do with the fact that these games are often parading themselves around as more than they actually are. They always have these very esteemed actors, and they always present as if they're going to be telling a very serious story. And then 2 days later, they have a trailer where it's like a guy jumping over a shark, or a guy riding his motorcycle over 10 flaming buses. Like, they do not really seem to know what they want this game to be. They kind of dress it up in this political charade, and I think that really sours the press on it, which is why you might think that they're singling it out.
Yes. I kind of see why people would think they're singling them out because there are certainly other games guilty of constant rehashes. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely.
I think Ubisoft doesn't necessarily jive with the press like some other outlets do, so that's why they're kind of getting
Well,
it.
yeah, they're a horrible publisher, so I can see why they might not get as much sympathy as others.
But at the same time, like Ubisoft does suck, so it's not like the
Yeah.
criticism is unwarranted.
Oh no,
It's
and these games seem terrible.
it's warranted at other people too, but I mean Ubisoft should not be getting a break. So
Yeah, I mean, I think, they're one of the two publishers that, like Blizzard, has had a lot of allegations come about them in the past. So nobody's going to be looking to give them benefit of the doubt, in other words. So, I'm really not going to, like, I think people crying over Ubisoft is really silly. I think this game will sell fine. So you can let them take a bruising in the press. It's not going to hurt them.
I mean, look, I feel like maybe for some people this sort of game is comfort food because, like you're getting some goofy crap, but they keep trying to pretend there's deeper meaning to these games, like with the Far Cry 5 controversially being about like America. People are like, oh, it's going to be like about Trumpism and stuff, and then nope, it's just a big nothing game.
No, it just uses it like a Halloween costume.
Yeah, and that's what
It's
it
like,
does
ooh.
too. So
It's cosplaying as real, serious media, but it is totally nonsense.
So whenever these games are announced, I'm always telling Cheston like, oh, it'll be it'll be like review like 7 out of 10. It'll say, oh, there was a lot of promise, but it doesn't really do anything with that promise. And if you played Far Cry 3, you'll like this game. And sure enough, every single time it's been like that.
Yeah, if you liked Home Alone, then you'll love or if you loved Home Alone, then you'll like Blank Check.
Oh, well, of course you will. He buys a castle with that $1 million. It's hard not to like.
Well, sticking with the Ubisoft beat, there is rumor coming out of the Video Games Chronicle that says Sam Fisher, oft requested but seldom acknowledged, might be returning in the very near future for current gen hardware. Derek, has the world passed Sam Fisher by, or is there room for the original stealth game that's not named Metal Gear Solid?
Okay, thank you. This might be a controversial take, I suppose, but I would say the world has passed Sam Fisher by, and I actually don't really like Splinter Cell that much anyway. So I'm kind of like, he can come back, I guess, but who cares, you know?
We always leaned more Metal Gear than Splinter Cell.
Yeah, whenever the internet would talk about like, Sam Fisher versus Solid Snake, I'd be like, what are you talking about? It's not even a competition. Solid Snake is
Well, and
like,
it's not, because if you played any of those games, you know that, I mean, at the end of the day, Solid Snake's basically a superhero. Sam Fisher's very human.
Sam Fisher's a human. He's like Jason Bourne, you know?
When you prick him, does he not bleed? He does.
uh,
So, I don't know. I I have a very wishy-washy, non-committal answer, which is to say that in some ways, I think this is actually a great time for Splinter Cell. You've had games like Hitman that have really shown what you can do with the stealth genre with the technology of today. Now, Splinter Cell was primarily like an Xbox, GameCube, PlayStation 2 era game.
I always looked at it as a Xbox showpiece, because like that was the best version of that game.
And it was good, but it was limited by its technology. You could only do so much back then, and they made the best with what they had. I think with new hardware, they could really make something great. That said, it's Ubisoft, and I was trying to think before we started recording, is there a Ubisoft franchise that does not use the Ubisoft formula these days?
Well, Rayman.
With that active, Rayman is not really active, except for
When
on
did
mobile
Legends
phones.
come out?
Like, when the Wii U came out 9 years
No,
ago?
they made a sequel to that.
That was Legends. You're thinking of Origins.
Oh my God, it was that long ago?
Yes. So I guess aside from Mario plus Rabbids, which is very much a game that they license out, Nintendo characters for, so of course it's going to be a little different. Everything else is pretty much that, find a tower, clear all these quests, spend 1,000,000 hours on this, and I have no reason to think that they would just do a straight up Splinter Cell a la the old games, in the vein of the new Hitman games. I think it would be open world. I think it would lose a lot in the translation to the new consoles, with Ubisoft still being behind it. So I'm going to say realistically no, but in a dream world, yes.
Well, yeah, we've learned that stealth games can be something interesting, like Dishonored, great stealth game.
Yeah.
And as you said, Hitman. So I don't see why these couldn't be good, but I just don't have faith in Ubisoft.
It could be done, but yes. Why would you believe that Ubisoft would do anything other than fill it with microtransactions and meaningless quests and filler and all that stuff that they're known for?
I would say the key to success here would be to make it not like the other superior stealth games on the market, and try to make it like closer to like the old Xbox games. Like, I don't know, just make it feel different, and that way, like an older feeling game would feel different.
I think those games would feel different because they were so dependent on Sam Fisher's many different technological gadgets he can use to exploit the situation. Like,
They
he
love
was kind of
showing
like
off
a
that night
Batman in
vision
some
goggles.
ways. Yes, and I think that would set it apart in most ways that people would care about.
But we'll see. I as you said, Ubisoft, no faith.
All right, Derek, give us our last headline here.
Finally, years of casting, recasting, and controversy have produced a trailer for the Uncharted movie. The movie stars Tom Holland as seemingly adolescent Nathan Drake and a mustacheless Mark Wahlberg as Sully. Cheston, have they won you over?
No, I don't like this trailer. Have you watched it?
No, I have not.
I watched it. I was sleeping on an air mattress because I was visiting our other brother, and I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw that this trailer finally came out, and I've always had kind of very not somber. I've never really been too optimistic about the idea of an Uncharted movie because the games are kind of movies already, so it seemed silly to me to do this. And all the news about casting in recent years has not really helped that. Like, I just haven't been motivated to think anything more of this movie than what I currently think, which is that it's not going to be any good. And this trailer kind of cemented that fact. It's whew, I mean, it just looks kind of generic. Like, it doesn't look awful, but it doesn't really look like Uncharted. It looks like it could be any action adventure movie produced by any number of movie studios in current year.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I feel like this is a strange choice for a movie since the game's already movies. But if you're gonna do it, you have to make the casting perfect. And I'm sorry, but Tom Holland as Nathan Drake is not. I don't. I just don't like it. Like, and I also don't like Mark Wahlberg as Sully. Like, you can't be like Sully with no mustache. Come on now. But also Wahlberg's like, I don't know. Sully's like a gruff older guy, and Wahlberg's too young looking. You know.
I've always maintained that it should be Bill Murray's brother, whose name I will never bother to remember because it really bothers one of our friends. But
Goose, who's been on the show.
yes, and I can't. I just cannot picture why it is. Why these are the choices they made, other than these are hip. Well, not Mark Wahlberg, but Tom Holland is of course Spider-Man, so Sony is all in on that. Which a side note, why have I been cursed that all of like my favorite characters are now being cast as Tom Holland?
Well, it's the same reason like Chris Pratt's Mario. It's like the wide audience sort of character. Like,
Yeah, and he just, I mean, I don't think he's a bad actor. I liked him in those Spider-Man movies. He's fine, but he's just not Nathan Drake. He just he doesn't look like him, doesn't sound like him.
Nathan Drake to me like looks like suave. He should be like a ladies' man, and to me, Tom Holland looks kind of like just like a teenage boy. Like, not like a heartthrob, just kind of like a guy.
Right. And I also think it's a little on the nose that they are already reusing a set piece from the games, which means that it's going to exist in a separate canon, which I guess is fine, but I don't know. It feels cheap.
If they're reusing set pieces from the games, that means it shouldn't be a prequel. So whatever.
Yeah, it feels cheap. And that Uncharted 3 plane escape sequence, as cool as it is in the game, seeing a real actor person mimic it, it just looks stupid. It looks comical the way he flings through the air and lands on crates.
So you don't want the train sequence to be in the movie?
I mean, I admitted that like I'm a huge fanboy for this series, and if they did do the train sequence, I would probably flip out about it, but they didn't.
I think I've said for a while now, after I saw Rise of Skywalker, I felt Oscar Isaac would be the perfect Nathan Drake.
He would certainly be a better Nathan Drake.
Yes. Well, just like looking at him in his desert gear, I was like, that guy could play it. And didn't happen. I also think Oscar Isaac's a way better actor, but that's neither here
Oscar
nor
Isaac
there.
is a tremendous actor,
But
and Tom Holland is just fine. He's
but
just fine.
as for Sully, I don't know if I have a perfect casting choice for that. It's
No.
difficult.
The only thing I would say positive about this trailer is that it appeared to have Chloe, as best as I could tell, and Chloe is best girl. So
I agree with that.
I'm down with that.
It's strange that Chloe would be in the movie, given that this is supposed to be a prequel again, and Chloe did not. Yeah, whatever.
Well, obviously it exists in a very separate canon, so it doesn't mean anything. But Chloe there is established some background between her and Drake
Okay.
when she comes in the second game, so it wouldn't be out of the question for her to show up.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yes, much like every other Uncharted character, they have a history they allude to in little chatters. Oh, remember that time in Zimbabwe? Oh, that was crazy. That kind of stuff.
I'm excited for the after credit sequence where like Sully's on the phone, and then like Drake's like, "Hey, Sully, who was that?" And then Sully like puts it on the phone and goes, "Have you heard of the Chichimani Stone?"
The good news about all of this is that they cannot do the solo prequel thing where it was like, we're gonna find out why he got his name, because we already know. They told us in Uncharted 4, and it was handled well.
Yes,
So thankfully the movies cannot do something stupid with that.
But you have to remember, oftentimes these people don't play the game, so they might have to try it anyway.
Oh, I am positive they only saw the trailers.
Yes.
So that's all of our headlines. We're gonna take a little break, and we're gonna return with a very special game show. Bonjour, je m'appelle Chesto, the world-famous cook. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm joined today by Derek.
Hello.
And Cheston. Hi. And today they are going to play this or that. I will present them two dishes, and they will choose this or that. Okay, the first dish I have is an appetizer. Which of these will be the better starter for you this Friday when Mario Party Superstars comes out? Either a cromulent Peach's birthday cake or Yoshi's Paradise Island.
Well, my wife came out as a Peach's birthday cake hater, so unfortunately, I have to go with the Yoshi's Paradise Island as the better starter.
And I am going to come out as a Peach's birthday cake apologist and say that Peach's birthday cake is easily the best stage if you are looking to start the game. It's very straightforward, so it gives your newbies a chance to learn the game before it throws them into something more complex.
There's only one
Like
path.
Horrorland. There's only one path. And even if they've changed it a little bit, they can only change it so much. And the gimmick kind of gets out of your way, so I think that is where you start. Yoshi's Paradise Island is delightful and all that, but there are some different paths you can choose, which might confuse some of the old people you play with.
Yeah, it's a for people that have played the game before though. It might be a nice simple level to go back to because like it's not as complex as Horrorland. It's not as simple as Peach's birthday cake. It's a nice little in between.
Oh, very nice, very nice. I'll throw these both in the garbage.
It's not quite like Donkey Kong's level from Mario Party One, which would have been the ultimate starter level, as you
Yeah, I was really
said
surprised
before,
they didn't put that in there. But Nintendo does what Nintendo does.
as they do.
Things that don't make sense. Anyways, the main course needs a little time to prepare, so I'm gonna heat up some very pricey leftovers for the high price of $9.99, and I don't mean like the WWE Network. I mean like $99.99, so an extra nine. Anywho, which of these is going to be the better pricey leftover for you? The Nintendo Switch Online Nintendo 64 collection? Or the Grand Theft Auto trilogy?
Well, first question is the Grand Theft Auto trilogy $99?
No.
Okay, I was a little confused there.
No. They are both, the trilogy is 60, and the NSO games are 50, unless you do a family plan.
Okay, so this is why I think the NSO 64 is better because you can do the family plan.
It's true.
What
It
we
is
have
kind of
going,
against the spirit of this, though.
yeah. So say what we have going on now is like where we have the NSO family plan. We play less for this than we would a normal subscription. So I know it's against the spirit, but because there is an option, and the Grand Theft Auto trilogy removed the option to buy the old ports, which would have been cheaper and more, graphically faithful to the originals. I got to go with the 64 stuff.
Well, here's why I'm going to disagree with you, and it's not just to create artificial competition.
No, no, I don't want that.
No, that would be ridiculous. So, here's the thing. The NSO games are great. I think they made a great selection. But we don't know what else is coming. We know a little bit, but we don't know how often they're coming. We don't know when they're coming. And it's a yearly subscription. And so, yes, if you have a family plan, you can skirt it a little bit. But if you don't, like I am imagining most people don't, that's a lot to pay every year to get Nintendo 64 games and Sega Genesis games you won't play. Now, the Grand Theft Auto trilogy has a few advantages. One, you can buy them all separately, which is nice. If you don't want Grand Theft Auto 3 because it sucks, you can just buy Vice City and San Andreas for $40. Those games are also, once you buy them, you have them, so that's nice. And in addition to that, you have the fact that I think the work they've done to these games appears to be not just substantial, but excellent. I think the graphics are a nice touch-up that, I mean, it's not like a next-gen looking game, but I think it captures the essence of those Grand Theft Auto games and their original art style, which I think looks awful. Like, I think those games have always been hideous. It captures that without looking like ass, for lack of a better word.
I don't like the way these look. Ty Vercetti looks like a Fortnite character.
I don't agree with that. I do not think every animated character is a Fortnite character.
I don't either. This one is.
He looks like the art on the cover of Vice City, which
He looks like he's about to ask
predates
where
Fortnite.
he's about to ask where he's dropping in the middle of a
I-
Fortnite map.
I disagree, and I also they are updating some of the controls, which I think will help Grand Theft Auto 3 a lot.
I think this collection is made for Grand Theft Auto 3 personally because from what I've read, they're making that game playable or solid.
Yeah.
Because like 3 had a lot of problems, like you couldn't do waypoints, for instance, on maps. So now I imagine, considering they said they're doing upgrades, you can use a map at GTA 3, which was a big improvement. Immediately
I
makes it
actually
really better.
forgot that it didn't have that.
Yes, it does not have a map. So the fact this one includes a map makes it a way better
We
version
talked
of that
about
game.
this last year.
We did.
This is crazy. Yeah.
Because when I played those games, which is unfortunate because I would have been a market for this remake, but now I'm like,
I am absolutely. I think these look great, and I think it looks like a great deal.
I'll probably get there.
I don't know that I will buy them separately, or together yet. San Andreas is coming to Game Pass, so that might be where I kind of dip my toes in. Yeah, and I'll be curious to see how the licensing does with the music. You know, that could be.
Yeah, that's interesting. 3 will not be impacted so much.
No,
a
but
little
it's always a problem with these games.
But Vice City has a legendary soundtrack,
It
and
does.
San Andreas has a pretty good one as well. So
It does.
we'll see.
Gentlemen, the main course is almost done, but I need a little more time. So we're going to hold you over with some, shall we say, delayed meals for your liking. So I have on one plate I have the Advanced Wars Reboot Camp, and on the other I have the Cyberpunk 2077 Next Gen patch. Both of these have been delayed like your meal. Which is the better delay?
Oh, well, Advance Wars. The reason Cyberpunk's delay isn't good is because I think they're dangerously close to people not caring about Cyberpunk anymore.
You think they're close? You don't think they're there? I think they're there. I think they've been there for a while, but this is like
I was
really
being
there.
generous. I was being
You were
generous.
being way too nice, and they don't deserve it.
Yes, I think you needed to push this out probably the summer 2021 if you wanted it to be like people to care. But now, like, you're releasing at Q1 2022. Cyberpunk has been out for a year and a half at that point. People, like, my wife has beat that game 3 times. People are kind of done with it. So I feel like at this, like, 2022 point is when they should be releasing, like, content DLC, not like a next gen upgrade. So
Wait, hold on. Did you say your wife beat this game 3 times?
I did say that.
What the hell?
She likes the game. I don't know if she won.
Okay, that's fine. I'm glad she likes it. I mean, by all accounts, I know that it's apparently a fine game, but
I like it a lot. It's fun.
It's largely irrelevant, I think, and I think it has to be in the running for one of the biggest disasters of all time. To go from being like the most hyped up game for nearly a decade to being an afterthought. That, honest to goodness, if I hadn't told you that this next gen patch was delayed, would you have known?
I would have known. I've been keeping
Okay.
tabs on it.
All
I
right.
want to do a replay when it comes out.
Oh, well, you might be one of the only ones.
Yeah, I might be. But I mean, I really do think they need like additional content if they want people to care about this still. And it seems like it's going to be like 2023 before any DLC comes out, which is way too long.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's a disaster.
Well, as for Advance Wars, though, like I don't quite understand why they're delaying from December to like it seems like a pretty straightforward sort of port to me. But I mean, I'm still excited for it. I'm gonna get it when it comes out. So
Gets it from being swallowed whole by the holiday season.
I still
I
disagree
guess.
with that. But I mean, I don't think this game would sell that well regardless of when it's released.
I don't
So-
either, but I think that it would help to get it away from Pokemon and Dread and other games like
Yeah,
that.
let's just move it by Arceus instead of the remakes. I'm sure that'll.
Oh, but nobody actually believes that game's coming out in January.
They no, Nintendo's been pretty good about keeping their like
They've
the
been holding firm.
Advance Wars is their first delay in a while. I feel like
Yeah, I mean, unless you count all the internal delays that Breath of the Wild has had.
true, but they're internal. Whenever they announce a date, it's usually and
We don't know about them.
they'll release a broken mess. The reason I think they'll hold is because it's around the end of Q4. so you want to get your financials in.
Personally, I think these dishes are nothing but me to spit on.
Ratatouille.
So, finally, I have for you the main course, and I have fun names for them. You need to determine which is the better name: Jesse Mccree or Cole Cassidy.
Oh boy. Imagine caring about Overwatch. I think even though like they're changing the name because McCree is like a bad person, I guess. I don't know exactly what he did, but I know
He
he's not
was
good.
he was implicated in some of those.
Yes, I
Yes.
figured he was. But McCree is a cooler name for that character. Like I see him, like you know what, that name fits. Cole Cassidy, like I've said this like online, but he like if you're talking like a new wrestler on NXT would have that name. Like it's just like a generic name. It's silly.
That said, I thought it was pretty funny when they revealed that the in-canon reason that he, went by McCree for so long was that it was like his, stage name, like Outlaws had, and Cole Cassidy's his real name. But if you were a cowboy and your name was Cole Cassidy, I don't know, that kind of sounds like a cowboy already.
Yeah, it does. I don't know what he's thinking.
It already sounds like a cowboy stage name. Not a good one. I think McCree is. I'm gonna agree with you. McCree's the better name. Now, it's a shame that it's attached to a very creepy person, and the developer understandably wants to get away from it because everybody is mad at Blizzard right now. So anything they can do to curry favor. That said, big downgrade in terms of name, but I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're separating all their characters from being named from real people, even like people that are named that are still solid folks. So
That's probably a good call, unless you know someone who's especially wholesome,
yeah, I mean,
like Tom Hanks.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. What's if Tom Hanks gets canceled? Then I mean, is
Who do we
anybody
got?
sacred? Who we got left?
You got Dave
Can you
Chappelle?
imagine
No,
a more
no.
milk toast person,
Yeah,
a more safe by the numbers individual? I can't.
I cannot. I struggle to.
Oh,
Tom Holland, maybe.
no. Oh, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to my kitchen for this or that. Now I would kindly ask you to get the hell out.
Where's our
Please.
dessert?
Dessert? What do I look like? A 7-Eleven?
Oh my god.
Do! Out with you!
Oh, okay, if you insist.
Well, we'll be right back. Alright, welcome to the break room. I am just lounging back on this industrially sized couch, and I'm here to talk about some video games. What about you, Derek?
I've been playing some video games, all right.
What have you been playing, Derek?
Well, I've been playing, it's been a while since our last episode, so I've been playing a lot of things, so I will try to keep it brief and to the big things. First, let's talk about Lost Judgment, which is the Yakuza.
Holy crap. We have been gone a long time.
Yeah.
That feels like 5 games ago.
Yeah. Lost Judgment is a Yakuza-like game where you're a detective in the streets of Kamurocho. And
When you say Yakuza-like game, do you mean a Yakuza game?
well, the Yakuza now is a JRPG series. This is like the old Yakuza where it's like a brawler. And in this game, like you're doing like a lot of detective work and solving cases and stuff, and it's really like it's great. The main story is really solid. It tackles a lot of issues that I think I don't know a lot of media would shy away from because it like deals heavily in like youth bullying and youth suicide, that sort of thing. So it's like heavy
Oh.
subjects for the main
Wow.
story, but the side missions are as goofy and zany as ever. So it's kind of like a whiplash, but I think they pull it off well. Like I'm never like if I want serious, I go to the main story. If I want goofy, and the main story has goofy stuff as well. But if you like variety, this game's for you because like half the like this game has sub stories, which are one thing, and also the side quest, the main side quest for each Yakuza's game's got like a big side quest. Like in Zero, it's got the Hostess Cafe, and in Seven, it's got a real estate firm. So and this one, you're doing you're like a class representative for various clubs in school, and each club has got different like activities. So like there's an esports club where you're playing Virtua Fighter. There's a boxing club where you're boxing. There's skateboarding club. There's one where you're like trying to schmooze a girl in a bar. There's one. Let's see. There's like a rhythm game, like the dance club. There's a robotics club. There's all sorts of like. If you get tired of the brawling, there's all sorts of different gameplay stuff. So if you have ADHD, this is the game for you.
Does it scratch the itch that the RPG games don't quite touch?
Yeah, I generally prefer how this plays.
I mean, you like a Dragon, but
Yeah, I
I
do
know
like
it's not
a
your
Dragon.
favorite Yakuza.
Yes, I feel like I'm overly hard on it, but I do enjoy it a lot. Like whenever like you're at a point, I'm like, have you got to this point yet? And I'm always excited to talk about it. It's just I kind of prefer the brawly type of Yakuza. This scratches that itch. There are some things I don't like about it, like I don't like the tailing, like the stealth stuff you have to do because like you're a private investigator, so you're having to tail people, and that's kind of annoying. Like
The obligatory bad stealth section.
stealth segments and non-stealth games are not my favorite.
Always bad. Don't do them. Stop doing them.
And I don't necessarily love like having to chase down perps, which is just like QTE presses while you're running. It's just
Yeah.
not particularly fun. But I mean, that's just nitpicks. Overall, it's a pretty damn solid game. I recommend it fully, and whenever it hits Game Pass in like 2 years, you should play it.
Yeah. Do those games come to Xbox? They do, don't they?
They do. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe this is currently on Xbox, and I know
Okay.
Judgment One is for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, the other thing that I want to talk about is Tales of Arise, which I have
I've been waiting for this.
also finished. So it's really good. The story is really interesting. It's about it deals a lot with like class hierarchy. I wish you had seen Gurren Lagann. If only Setzer was here, because I get a lot of vibes from that from this game, because like you're working against a society of quote unquote aliens. It's very interesting. But what I like most about it is that it plays good, which is not a Tales of staple.
Okay. I mean, I hate to disagree with you there, but
Well, I've coming for like I played Berseria last year or earlier this year. Gosh, what a long year! And I enjoyed that game, but it's very mashy. Like I did not have to think about the combat at all. And this one, it's still not perfect, but
but you like Kingdom Hearts, and Kingdom
I
Hearts 3 is very mashy.
you should play on the harder difficulties.
Do you play on the harder difficulty on Tales of Arise?
The difference with the Tales games and Kingdom Hearts is that it gets more. The enemies give less experience and less loot if you play on harder difficulties. So
And what?
it's
Kingdom Hearts or
no than
Tales?
like on normal. So like you play on hard mode, they
Yeah, I know.
give
Are you talking about Tales or Kingdom Hearts?
Kingdom Hearts does not do the drop thing the same
Okay.
because that is really annoying. Like that makes the harder difficulties not fun. It's like you have to grind, which I don't want to do. So I like it in that regard. I'm sorry to break your heart about thinking the old ones are
No,
not
Tales
so
of Symphonia
fun.
is a great game. It's fine.
Well,
I
that
always have
one
my memories.
I don't think that one's so mashy. But I'd have to replay it. I think, but I remember thinking it was okay. But yeah, like the story is really solid. You see two characters like have a love story, and you actually like enjoy the characters, want to see them get together, which doesn't happen a lot for me anymore because like I'm kind of over every game having a love plot,
Yes.
and so I was like apprehensive, but this one pulls it off. It's not quite Titus and Yuna for me, but it's pretty good.
Well, we talked about NPDs earlier. This game reached the 4th spot,
Pretty darn good for Tales
just
of game.
behind, NBA and Madden and, the usual, which is pretty great.
That's not bad. It sold
Yeah,
over a
geez.
million copies, so
So it seems like this could be the one that really. I've certainly heard more about this one. Like, I mean, I heard about Symphonia, which I bought and loved when I was younger. I heard about Vesperia because it was like, the first Xbox RPG that people cared about. And then it felt like the series, I know it had games, but it just like disappeared out of the mainstream for a long time. So this feels like it coming back.
what helps this out is that it's kind of like boosted for next gen consoles, and those people need something to play. so
They sure do.
that probably helped them a little bit, I imagine. And on top of that, like there's not a lot of RPGs going around right now. That's just something for them to play. And then I'm playing Earthbound right now, so I don't really need to talk
Yes.
about that.
Are you playing it on your actual SNES Classic?
Yes, I'm playing on the SNES
Okay. I
Classic.
thought you were. All right. I
So
thought so when I
I
saw
want to
that
play it on my
picture.
TV. So
This will be what, the 12th time you finish Earthbound?
at least it's probably more than that, which is embarrassing, but whatever. And I plan on playing Mother's 3 whenever I'm done. So, and I've only beat Mother's 3 one time, so it'll be nice to go
Okay.
back.
Yeah. So I will start by talking about the big new excitement over in this territory, which is that the Switch OLED did come out, and I had pre-ordered mine back in July, so I didn't have to worry about stock or shortages or anything. It just came in the mail, and I have to say, I really do like it as an upgrade. I think we did a little podcast about like portable iterations. We said that our favorite one was the new 3DS XL. Our least favorite, I think, was like the 2DS. I think this is, well, certainly better than the 2DS. To me, this strikes me like, kind of like, I would say if I was going to place it in the hierarchy, I'd put it above the 3DS XL, which just made the screen bigger and didn't really do anything else. I put it above that, and then kind of like right next to something like the SP that had because they had two SPs. They had one that was side lit or front lit, and then one that was actually backlit. Now, the front lit one was good enough, so the backlit one to me was just like a nice little upgrade. I think this is a lot like that. It feels like the hardware feels a lot more premium, kind of like the new 3DS XL did.
Hmm.
Like, not that the Switch felt like cheap, but I do think the launch Switches felt
Some of it feels cheap.
a
The
little like
kickstand.
the kickstand feels cheap.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's not a bad. The old hardware is not bad, but this one just feels a little better. The material's just something about it like grips a little better. I don't feel like I felt like there was a sweat problem for me with the original, and I don't have that problem. The material does a better job with my hands, I suppose. The Joy-Cons are the Joy-Cons, so that's just same as old. The kickstand, which you mentioned, that is a big upgrade. This kickstand is nice.
That was the one thing that I saw about the Switch Pro. I was like, oh, or not Switch Pro, Switch OLED. I was like, oh man, that looks nice. I do like that
Yeah,
kickstand.
yeah, it is a really good kickstand. It's like kind of like those Microsoft Surface tablets. It just runs the length of the console, and it's extremely adjustable. Like it doesn't lock to any position. So you can, whatever you want. So the other day I was getting ready for something, and I got to an unskippable cutscene. Well, not necessarily unskippable. I didn't want to skip it, and I couldn't pause it in Skyward Sword. It was one of those dialogue scenes that progressed for you.
Yes.
And so I was carrying that around while I got ready, and like I could place my Switch on all these different surfaces and adjust the angle so I could continue to follow the cutscene without like having to put it in sleep mode or anything. I really liked having that ability, and it has made me like want to play it in some other places where I normally wouldn't. Like I've played it while I was cooking like a really low impact dinner. Like I could just easily adjust the kickstand and go from there. Play it at the kitchen table some. Like that kickstand is a surprising upgrade. I will tell you. I did not expect to like it as much as I have.
You were talking about ranking it with our portables or whatever. For me, I ranked the micro higher than you did, so I would have it around the micro. It's just an aesthetics change.
Yes, that OLED screen does look quite a bit. So I haven't mentioned that yet, which is kind of the big deal. It's 7 inches, so the bezel on the Switch is pretty much gone, which I was very happy about. It was one of my most requested features, and they did it. And the OLED screen, my most requested feature, is there, and it's fabulous. It's Switch games, right? So you kind of know what to expect. But those games do actually look really good with vivid colors. Like, Mario Kart was one that I tried, and Mario Kart looks fantastic. Like, the colors just pop a little bit more. Or even, like, a 2D game, like I played this little indie adventure game called The Dark Side Detective, which is just a very pixelated adventure game. And it just looks fantastic with the contrast of the screen, the vivid colors. It looks awesome.
You
So
ought to play
I
Hollow Knight on it.
yeah, I have actually. There's a lot of games I'm like, man, I just want to play that again because with that new screen, it really does make a big difference. I was playing Smash Brothers last night, and you could just really tell the difference between that and even like playing it on like a HD TV. Like the colors just shine a lot more, so it makes someone like me who plays handheld, just it makes it all the more worth it. It's from a hardware perspective, it is a I think not a substantial upgrade. Obviously, no performance. The price is what it is. It's a little more than it should be, but I do think it is certainly the best way to play Switch games, and I am happy to play them on it. It's been a real blast to take that around and play that in bed and play to the dining room table and all these kind of things. Like it is some good hardware from Nintendo,
Yes.
which is great. Now, with that OLED, I have played Metroid Dread because I finally finished The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, which at some point we'll talk about, but not today.
It took 85 years to do it, but he finished
Took 85 years. I 100% of that game, for better and for worse. Metroid Dread is a much better video game than The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. It is a fantastic game, and I was really worried about it because it was, it's Mercury Steam, who has, depending on who you ask, a spotty reputation, and I was just worried it wouldn't be the real Metroid 5 that I've been waiting for since Fusion, which is a game that I quite enjoyed, and I love Super Metroid and Zero Mission and all those games. I think they're fantastic. Well, this plays better than any of those. Like, this game controls so well. It's crazy. I have certainly seen people online complain about the controls. I think their problem is that there are a lot of controls. Samus is quite capable in this game. Samus can slide now, which is always great when you add that to an action game.
Can Samus crawl?
No, Samus can, Samus can do the usual things, but, the big thing is that she can do that slide move. She has, like, a phase shift move that's pretty cool. Her aiming is now 360 degrees. She can aim anywhere. It's not just locked to your diagonals. You've got your grapple beam, which is mapped to its own trigger, and, it can be complicated, but, man, when you get those controls down, there is not a game in the series that feels even close to as good as this. Like, it just feels awesome. Like, when you're playing a boss fight, you just feel so into it because you just have so much control of Samus, and everything you do feels cool, and you feel cool. It is a cool game.
Yeah, the praise for this game has been pretty over the top, I would say. I've seen people say that it's the best Metroid. I've seen people say it's the best Metroidvania.
I think in terms of like where does it rank with the other Metroids, I haven't finished it. I think I'm over the halfway mark. It's not a very long game, but I'm pretty sure I'm over the halfway mark because I have the gravity suit, and that's usually kind of a later game acquisition. So I would say, like, it depends on what you're looking for. If you are purely mechanics, like if you are driven purely by mechanics, I think this game is the best by a long, long, long ways. I just think, I love Super Metroid, but it's a 1994 video game. This takes advantage of the advancements in technology. It feels better than Super Metroid.
Yes.
Now, if you look at other things that you might care about with Metroid, like atmosphere, music, story, I don't know if anybody cares about the story. The story in this game is fine. The story is probably as good as the others. The atmosphere and the sound is where I would say this game kind of hit or miss. Like, the music is fine. It's just like,
I'm stunned.
Super Metroid is legendary.
Yeah.
This does not fit to shine its shoes in that sense.
I'm really surprised to hear you say that about the atmosphere, though. Like,
well, the
atmosphere.
atmosphere.
Game,
Hold on.
Like best
That's
part.
a mixture. I would say, like in general, the atmosphere is fine. Those sections with the Emmy, which are these robots that track you down, kind of like the SAX from Fusion. It's these stealth segments. That is great atmosphere. That is fantastic. I mean, you certainly feel tense, and the Emmy makes these noises so you can tell when it's close by. And I think that's just some really solid atmosphere
kind of like
design
Mr.
there.
X.
Yeah. But I mean, outside of that, I think it's good, but I think those 2D Metroid games are like the best games in terms of I think Super Metroid does atmosphere better than every game in the world except for Resident Evil 2. So, like, I really don't think it's a bad thing to say it's not as atmospheric as Super Metroid, but when it wants to be, it is quite excellent in that regard. But I think it's partly because like I'm a mark for 2D art, and this game is 2.5D, which I'm not a mark for.
No, I'm
I
not
think
either.
it looks good. I think it looks good, but like I'm always gonna choose excellent
Yeah.
handmade pixels over,
Yeah, I'm the same way. Pixels are better than 2D,
yeah,
3D, whatever.
yeah. But this game looks really good for a Switch game. It's not a bad looker.
I always feel bad when talking about like music for big franchises like Metroid because like Super Metroid has a legendary soundtrack, Like
It
it's like
does.
complaining about like Mario Odyssey's music not being as good as like Super Mario World's music or something
Right.
like
You can't compete.
yeah, like some of those games are just classic. Like if there's another Chrono game like Chrono Trigger 3 or whatever you would want to call it, it probably won't have as good music as Chrono Trigger 1, which feels unfair, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't compete with Super Metroid because no game in the world has as good of a soundtrack as Super Metroid. If this were called Shadow Complex 2, I think everybody would be like, "Oh, that's pretty." Like the boss tracks are pretty good. Just like it's good. Like, oh god, and the bosses are amazing.
I look at the Super Metroid like for that game, it's like the Halloween soundtrack is for that movie. Like it's just perfectly fits it entirely.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I was kind of worried. Like, even when I saw the hype, I was like, I mean, that's why I bought it early because I wasn't gonna buy it for a while. But when I saw the praise it was getting, I was like, I better try it. But even still, I thought, I don't know. It could be just like Johnny come lately, like maybe never played a Metroid game before. Like I don't know. Like I just was trying to rationalize all the reasons it might not actually be that good. No, it actually is that good. It is. It is far and away the best game on the Switch since I don't know Smash Brothers Ultimate. Like it is so good. It is just
I
fantastic.
think the sign of a good Metroid is the ability to run it quickly. Like you can beat, like if you like play it
Yes, you
out,
can.
like
Yep.
the first time you beat it like in 11 hours. But then like you can go back and beat it in like two. Like I've seen people beat this game like 2, 3 hours really
Yep.
quickly.
Yep.
So I
And
think
it
that's great.
yeah, once you learn the game, I can see why you'd be able to beat it quickly, like the other Metroids. And it also has sequence breaking, which is something that I know people really quite liked.
I'm glad that's
So
back too.
yeah, that is like they really like when I think about this game, and I think about like the history of Metroid and like what people have liked and disliked about other entries. To me, this really like satisfies all those complaints. Like, oh, some people complain nowadays that Super Metroid doesn't control like it should. Well, this game does. Some people think that Fusion has great atmosphere, but it's too linear. Well, this game has, it has those atmospheric segments, and it's not linear. It's pretty open, and it's got sequence breaking, and it's just got everything you could want. I can't imagine being a Metroid supporter and not being super happy that this game is what it is.
Yeah, I'm excited to play it once I finish. Well, it depends. Mother's 3, I might play Sonic 2006. I don't know.
Hey, I have a physical copy. You can borrow my physical copy.
I actually want to reward them and buy it.
Oh,
But
okay. Well, that's fair enough. You should. It's a good game. I hope this is the best-selling Metroid ever. I really do.
I think you're probably safe on that one. It's on the
It better do.
Switch.
It better be.
If it's
It
not, there's
better
problems.
freaking be.
If it's not the
It feels
best-selling
like,
one, yeah.
yeah, I know. It feels like Samus is getting her due.
Yeah, I would say if it's not the best-selling one, there will be no more Metroids. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so the last thing I'll talk about is briefly because I've been kind of traveling, so I haven't had much of a chance to play it in a little bit. And I got my Switch OLED, which was of course distracting to me. I did play a Yakuza game,
Yes.
despite what the critics might think. I've played like a Dragon for about 10 hours, which is a lot for me.
Yes,
And,
it is.
I'm not going to say that I'll finish it because I'm never going to commit to that ever again in a game because it often does not happen. Just the way that I play games and the way that my life is. I really, really like this game. Like I think what I've played Yakuza 0 a little bit. I'm not a big fan of brawlers like that style of brawler. I like very old school brawlers that are super simple. Yakuza's got like a little much going on for me, but I still liked it. Like I thought the dialogue was really fun and all that. This game to me feels at home as an RPG. It just feels right. All those text boxes, they just feel like they really belong. And I think the turn-based combat, which I know you said is like really simple, and it is. I do think it's like super lively, which is nice. Like it has a very quick pace to it, so it never feels like your battles go too long. and it never feels like you're just sitting there waiting for things to happen. And it feels like they really did a great job capturing the essence of Yakuza, which, not that I know much about it, but I've seen Yakuza fights, and I know what they look like, and this, I think, translates that really well to a turn-based system.
Okay, now you're right, but I feel like the simplistic combat system like works better for shorter games. Like well, I said it before, but it reminds me a lot of like Stick of Truth in the combat.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
know
Stick
what
of
you're
Truth
saying.
is like a 14-hour game, so that's not a problem there. Like this game is simpler than Earthbound, and Earthbound is 20 hours long, maybe.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Like that's my big problem for for Like a Dragon 2, which they have
yeah.
announced. I really would like something a little more complex.
I think agree with you. I can see why after, what is this game, like 60 hours?
Well, I think my because
40?
I do all the side quests and stuff.
Oh.
So I think my final playtime was 45ish. And by the 35ish hour point, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do
Yeah, I
this.
can see that. I can see how later on the game it would develop that. Right now, I don't feel that. The story, I think, is so good.
Oh
Like,
yes,
I unironically think it's better written than just about any other game on the market.
the story
Like,
is top notch. I completely agree.
the idea that, like, God of War gets praised for its story, and this game is just like, oh, it's that quirky Japanese game, to me, is ridiculous. Like, this game is so good.
Oh, Like a Dragon blows God of War story wise out of the water.
I mean, it deals with so many serious issues without like feeling like super preachy or like been there, done that. Like it's funny, like not just video game funny, like it's actually funny.
Yeah,
Like the frequent leaker side quest where the guy's peeing in the river. That's a funny quest on its own conceptually, but then you have the dialogue where these characters are like just very stoically making urination puns, and they're not playing it for laughs. They're playing it straight. Which in a Western game you'd have every other line, like think
they wink
Sunset
at the
Overdrive.
camera. Yeah.
Oh, piss! But in this game, it's like this police officer just looking at Kiryu like it's the most serious thing in the world, and he's like, "Oh, there's a guy leaking in the river."
That's the same thing with like Lost Judgment, where it's just like it's serious when it needs to be, but man, it has a sense of humor too. So it's just nice. Got something for everybody.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get back to it, sooner than later. I say that, I don't know that will happen, but it's on my list as games I enjoy enough to continue with. So
Well,
I'm
if you
hoping to get back
can't,
to it.
I would at least look up the story because I think the story is really good and interesting, and they even like got a good performance out of George Takei. So I mean, they did a good
Yeah,
job.
and I don't even like I really like Ichiban. I want to see that
He's
through.
great for Yakuza fans like me. Like Kiryu is like the ultimate protagonist. Like it would be like replacing Mario in the Mario games. I was like not super thrilled that they were going in a new direction with Yakuza 7, but Ichiban's like the perfect protagonist for what they were going for. So I love the guy.
For me, it's just one of my favorite games I've picked up in recent months, and I've picked up many. This is one that I actually like enough that I'm like, I really do want to play it, and if I don't finish it, I will feel bad.
Yes,
I will
yes.
genuinely feel bad.
I hope you
At
get
least
there
it was
one
on
day.
Game Pass.
Yeah, at least it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, I
So,
hope it doesn't suffer the same fate as Dragon Quest XI, which is another game I think might be one of the best games I've ever played, but I haven't finished yet. So I want to close with some parting shots. This is like just a fun way to close things out, say something that's on our mind that wasn't maybe covered in the news or what we've been playing. And so I will start us so that Derek can have a good role model for this. And I'm going to take a shot at Square Enix. Now, this past week, Sora finally came to Super Smash Bros., and for all intents and purposes, he is outstanding. He is just a well-designed character. He plays exactly like what I always dreamed he played like. And because none of the Kingdom Hearts games, except for Melody of Memory, are on Switch, Square, of course, wanted to bring that experience over to the Switch so people could see Sora, but they did it with cloud versions. Now,
before you get too far, I want to bitch about something real quick. I hate that that dearly beloved swing version is locked behind Melody of Memories for the Switch. Because I love that song, but I bought Melody of Memory on the PlayStation, so I'm not going to spend $40 to get one song in Smash Brothers.
I'm holding you to that.
I'm not that far gone, trust me.
That is stupid.
I'd pay $1 for it. Just get it to like normal people.
That is ridiculous.
Anyway,
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, anyways, what I would say is, listen, Square is good about preserving some of its history. Weirdly enough, the Saga games are all getting remakes.
Yeah, that's
and that's
bullshit.
cool, I guess, for weirdos. And they have the collection of mana, and they've remade all of those mana games. Like, there's all of this stuff, but when it comes to their biggest franchises, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Chrono, not their biggest franchise, but,
Well, it would be
bear
if
with
they
me.
if they tried.
Listen, you've got to do a better job of preserving your best games. Stop doing stupid stuff like making, like, there is no reason that these PlayStation 2 games that were, I mean, admittedly gussied up for the new hardware, there's no reason they shouldn't run on the Switch. I assure you that the Grand Theft Auto trilogies are more complicated because of their open world design than these, and those are coming to Switch. And, I mean, sure, they're not 60 frames per second, but whatever, I don't even need that. Just put Kingdom Hearts on the Switch.
I think the big obstacle was the file size, is what Square Enix said, which is a bad excuse because Final Fantasy X runs on the Switch.
These other developers got to figure this out, because Mario Odyssey, which is a far better looking game than Kingdom Hearts, is like, what, 3-4 gigabytes? It's
Yeah, it's not that big.
like, yeah, come now. Like, that's pretty small. And what does Square think that Kingdom Hearts needs to be? That's ridiculous. I am fed up with Square and their inability to preserve their own history of their actual good games and not their bad games. So, I give them a wag of my finger.
A shake of the
Derek.
fist, maybe.
Yes. Derek, who would you like to take a parting shot at?
I left this out of my what I've been playing because I do want to kind of bitch about it a little bit, or not it, but the franchise. But I have played Dead Rising 2, which is a game I quite enjoy.
Oh boy, I know where this is going.
So I'm playing this and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm like, man, it's a shame this franchise went so off the rails. So I just am like tired of, I don't know, companies not understanding what makes their franchises good, kind of like trying to appeal to a broader market. Because I think for the longest time, what people complained about Dead Rising for was like the timer. It was too restrictive, like you couldn't like do every quest at once, which is fair. But I don't look at Dead Rising as one of those types of games. I think having to budget your time as part of the gameplay. I think that's what makes it unique. And it's like Dead Rising 2, honestly, the timer is not very restrictive. I was able to do like, pretty much every single quest I wanted to do on my first playthrough. It wasn't hard, but in 3 and 4, they're like, all right, well, timer's just not a thing anymore. You can do everything and not have to worry about it. And
This has always been our opinion, and it's very unpopular. I think you'll agree with me, because I think we've had the same opinion, is that developers should be really careful about what they listen to when their fans talk and what they ignore. And I always use Uncharted as my example for this, because Uncharted 1 ends with a boss fight. It's a quick time event. Now, it's a movie game, so it fits. But people complained. Uncharted 2 has a boss fight, and it is one of the worst boss fights of all time. And people hated it. The same people who hated the first one hated that. And then in 3, what did we get? We got a quick time event again. And it just happens every single time.
I don't know. Sometimes you should like not listen to people. I think Dead Rising 1 and 2, especially 1, are like classics. Like Dead Rising 1, I think was the first quote unquote next gen game to me. With like the number of zombies on screen. So I have such a high opinion of 1 and 2. It's just so sad that the franchise is like not only like dead, but I don't want it to come back because they keep fucking it up. So if it comes back, it'll suck again. So
Yeah.
it's just
You almost wish, though, that it did come back, because Capcom's really got their stuff together
like
these
Capcom
days.
Vancouver's gone. So
Well, yes, like, Capcom's really got things going these days, so you would it'd almost be neat to see that franchise come back, because you'd hope they'd give it the same love and respect that they gave, like, Devil May Cry 4, or 5, sorry.
yeah,
And some of those other games, Monster Hunter Rise,
the
and
RE
Monster Hunter
remakes,
World.
yeah.
Yeah, the RE remakes, like, Capcom is on it, so you'd have to wonder if Dead Rising would be, like its old self again.
Well, unfortunately, it's got the stench of Inafune on it. So
Oh man, that is a bad stench.
yeah, because he was like the creative director, I think, for 1, and he also was part of 2. He was like at least a consultant for Vancouver. So that's just not. I don't know. They just like to walk away from that guy. So
Well, I can't say I always blame them.
No, it's probably for the
Not
best.
after seeing what Mighty Number Nine was. Though Inafune is one of the only people in the world who has the correct opinion on Mega Man 3, which is that it's not good.
Where did he say this?
He said it wasn't as good because the developers were unhappy when they were making it,
Oh, okay.
and I can see that because it's a very hateful game. I hate it.
Yes.
I don't hate it. It's just not a good Mega
It's
Man.
fine.
It's a fine Mega Man. It's just not a great Mega Man.
There's worse.
Yeah. Oh yes. Let's eight,
Uh, yeah.
eight,
Eight.
5,
One.
1. Yeah. Other than that, I'd say I would pick 2, 4.
7.
I like 7 a lot. I'd pick 2, 4, 6, 7, and especially 9, and 10 and 11 as
Maybe
well.
not 10. Nine's great. 10's
Uh,
okay.
10 is very good. If it were the last Mega Man, it would have been a great way to close it, and then it wasn't, and then 11 is a pretty good way to close the series too.
All right.
Wouldn't you know it?
All right. Well, I guess that'll do it for us this week. You can reach us on Twitter at allthodaypod, or you can reach us on email, allthodaypodcast@gmail.com. This is Derek.
And Cheston.
We will see you next time, which should be sooner than the last time. Bye.
See ya.